أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Lesson number 112, Surah Yunus. We'll begin from ayah number 11. وَلَوْ يُعَجِّلُ اللَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ الشَّرَّ اسْتِعْجَالَهُمْ بِالْخَيْرِ. And if Allah was to hasten for the people the evil they invoke, as He hastens for them the good, then what would happen? لَقُضِيَ إِلَيْهِمْ أَجَلُهُمْ. Their term would have been ended for them. فَنَذَرُ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. But we leave the ones who do not expect the meeting with us in their transgression, wandering blindly. وَلَوْ يُعَجِّلُ. And if He would hasten, meaning He does not hasten, and if He would, then such and such would happen. يُعَجِّلُ is from the root letters Ain, Jim, Lam, from the word ujla. Ajjala yu'ajjilu ta'jil, which is to try to get something before its due time. To do something, to try to do something, to try to get a hold of something. When? Before its due time. Like for example, to get a shipment across the continent, it takes 1 day, minimum. And a person tries that he should be able to get a shipment across the continent in half a day. What is that? Trying to do something before its due time, in less time. So, if Allah would hasten, وَلَوْ يُعَجِّلُ اللَّهُ, if Allah would hasten, لِلنَّاسِ, for the people, if He would send them something before due time. What? الشَّرَّ, the evil. What does it mean by evil? Evil has been understood in two ways. First of all, the evil that people invoke for themselves. Like for example, in a difficult situation, when a person is very angry, when a person is upset, or he's grief-stricken, what does he do? He begins to pray against himself. That, I wish I could just die right now. I wish all of this could be just over. Or, when he's upset with others, he begins to pray against them. So, ashar is the evil that a person invokes for himself, for his wealth, for his property, for others, when? Out of frustration, out of anger. So if Allah would hasten evil for the people, that the moment they asked for it, immediately it would be sent to them. Immediately it would be given to them. For example, a person prays, "Oh Allah, give me death." And immediately the person would die. So what would happen? The world would not be able to function. Allah does not do it. Secondly, ash-shar is understood as the evil consequences of the people's actions. The evil consequences of the people's actions. The adhab, the punishment for the wrong that they do. So if Allah were to send punishment immediately, then this world would not function. That immediately, as soon as a person does something wrong, he dies. Or as soon as a person does something wrong, his tongue paralyzes or his body becomes paralyzed. Or he loses his wealth. Then what would happen? This world would not be able to function. So Allah does not do that. وَلَوْ يُعَجِّلُ اللَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ الشَّرَّ اسْتِعْجَالَهُمْ, as they're hastening بِالْخَيْرِ, with the good. What does it mean by this? اسْتِعْجَالَهُمْ بِالْخَيْرِ, meaning just as the people hasten for good, just as they want good to be hastened for them. That the moment they make an evil dua, they want it to be responded, just as when they make a dua for good, they want that to be given to them. لَقُضِيَ إِلَيْهِمْ أَجَلُهُمْ. So, إِسْتِعْجَالَهُمْ بِالْخَيْرِ, what does it mean? Just as they hasten for good, just as they want good immediately. If Allah were to give evil to people immediately as well, then what would happen? لَقُضِيَ إِلَيْهِمْ أَجَلُهُمْ. What does it mean by ajal? Their lifetimes. And قُضِيَ, they would be finished. Meaning the people would be destroyed. No one would be alive today. No one would be able to survive. لَقُضِيَ إِلَيْهِمْ أَجَلُهُمْ. So what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets evil thrive, and He also lets good thrive. Both. If a person does something wrong, he is allowed to live. If a person does something good, even he is allowed to live. If a person invokes for evil, he is not responded immediately. And فَنَذَرُ, so we leave, الَّذِينَ, those people who, لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا, who do not expect our meeting. Those people who do not look forward to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who don't believe in the hereafter, Allah leaves them فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ, in their rebellion, يَعْمَهُونَ, they wander blindly. Meaning, He lets them continue in their evil. They are not caught immediately for the wrong that they do. And generally what happens, when a person does something wrong, he thinks that he should be punished if he's doing wrong. And when he's not punished, when he's not caught, what does he think? That he's okay. There are no consequences. So he continues, he persists in the evil that he's doing, and this is exactly what is being said, that we leave them فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ, they wander blindly in their rebellion. They continue to cross limits. So what do we learn in this ayah? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not hasten in accepting evil requests. And this is Allah's kindness, His forbearance with His servants. Sometimes when a person is angry, he prays for evil. But the fact is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that the slave, that the servant does not truly want that evil for himself. Isn't it? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not respond to him. A person prays, I want to die. I want this person to die. I want this marriage to come to an end. I want to get rid of this. But what happens? His dua is not responded. Why? Because Allah knows that the person does not really want that evil for himself. And if Allah were to accept the evil requests of people, as He accepts their good du'as, then what would happen? All people would have been destroyed long time ago. Children, on little things, what do? They pray for death. They pray for the end of their lives. Even little children, they do that. If they're caught cheating, or if they're caught doing something wrong, immediately they will start praying for evil to befall them. So Allah does not respond to the prayers of people, especially those that are evil, because He knows that they don't really mean them. Likewise, it's not the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that as soon as a person does something wrong, he is punished immediately. This is not the way of Allah. That as soon as a person does something wrong, immediately punishment is sent his way. The mushrikeen of Mecca, they would demand punishment. They would say that if we're not believing and you are a true messenger, then we should be punished. But what does Allah say? That Allah does not send punishment immediately. He gives time. He gives respite. In Surah Al-Ma'arij, ayah number 1, we learn, سَأَلَ سَائِلٌ بِعَذَابٍ وَاقِعٍ. A supplicant asked for a punishment that is bound to happen. So when they came to the Prophet ﷺ, they would demand punishment. Similarly, in Surah Al-Ra'd, ayah number 6, we learn, وَيَسْتَعْجِلُونَكَ بِالسَّيِّئَةِ قَبْلَ الْحَسَنَةِ. They impatiently urge you to bring about evil before good. They impatiently urge you to bring about evil, meaning evil punishment, before good. Instead of asking for blessings, instead of asking for guidance, what do they ask for? Punishment. The fact is that human beings are generally very hasty. We want that if a person has done something wrong, he should be punished immediately. And if he's not punished, then he must be right. As I mentioned to you earlier, that the theme of the surah, one of the themes, one of the main topics that is discussed in the surah is what? Matters with regards to qada wal qadr, divine decree. So generally what do we think? That if a person has done something wrong, he should be punished immediately. But what does Allah say? That for each person, there is a certain time to live. For each person, there is a certain time to live. We want evil to finish immediately, we want good to thrive. However, for both good and evil, Allah has set a time. And if the case was of immediate recompense, then this world would not function anymore. Now at the same time, this ayah does not mean that a person should make evil requests, thinking that, okay, they're not going to be responded, so we should make them anyway. Allah does not accept them, therefore we should make them anyway. This is also incorrect. Why? because the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from doing that. We learn from the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, do not pray against yourselves, and do not pray against your children. Do not pray against your wealth. For example, a person, he's walking and he stumbles upon a piece of furniture and then he prays against that furniture. The poor table or the poor sofa that was sitting, whose fault is it? Yours or that sofa's fault? It's your fault. And the Prophet ﷺ said, why? Because for your prayer may coincide with a time of response from Allah, and Allah will respond to you. You don't know when the window is for all du'as to be accepted. And if you invoke against yourself at such a time, then what's going to happen? Evil is going to come to you. Allah will send evil to you. And it's a very interesting incident. Somebody sent it to me. I have no idea about its authenticity, but I was very struck by it. And this man, he had mentioned about that he was listening to a lecture in which one of the reciters, he was giving a lecture to the women. And he was advising the women that when you get upset with your children, don't pray against them. Always say something good. Because firstly, you're a mother. And secondly, you don't know when your dua may be accepted. Because generally when mothers get very frustrated with their children, they begin praying against them. So he said that once there was a boy, and he was extremely naughty, and he did something terribly wrong, and his mother got very upset with him. And she said to him, just go away from here, may Allah make you the Imam of Haram. Just like that she said, look at yourself, what you're doing, may Allah make you the Imam of Haram. And he said, I am the Imam of Haram. You know who that was? Shaykh Sudais. Allahu A'lam with the authenticity of this incident. Somebody emailed it to me, I read it. I was so amazed. You don't know. You have no idea. So always utter good. Always say good things, because you never know when du'as may be accepted. وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ الضُّرُّ. And when affliction touches man, what does he do? دَعَانَا. He calls us. He prays to us. When? How? لِجَنْبِهِ. On his side. Jamb is the side of a person. Meaning while he's lying down, he prays to us. أَوْ قَاعِدًا. Or while he's sitting. أَوْ قَائِمًا. Or while he is standing. So while he is lying down, while he is sitting, while he is standing, in every state or position he may be in, what does he do? He prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when does he pray to Allah? At the time of affliction. Otherwise, he does not make dua. He only makes dua to Allah at what point? When he's suffering from a dur. وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ الضُّرُّ. And what is dur? Any kind of suffering, any kind of harm that a person experiences where? In his body, in his mind, in his wealth. It could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be financial. So when he suffers from a difficulty, what does he do? He begins praying to Allah when he is lying down, when he's sitting, when he's standing. But then, فَلَمَّا, then when, كَشَفْنَا, we removed, عَنْهُ, from him, ضُرَّهُ, his harm, what does he do? مَرَّ, he passes away. Meaning, he becomes, he goes by. He passes that phase. He walks on. Marra literally means to walk on, to go by. So marra, he becomes ka'an, as if, lam, not, yad'una, he was praying to us, ila durrin, to a harm, massahu, it touched him. So when that difficulty is over, when it is removed, he passes on as if he never made dua to Allah to remove that dur from him. كَأَن لَمْ يَدْعُنَا, as if he never made dua to us, إِلَى ضُرٍّ, to the harm. Which harm? مَسَّهُ, that touched him. And why would he call Allah to that dur? To remove that dur. So he passes on as if he never made dua before to Allah. In other words, he becomes completely oblivious. He becomes completely ungrateful. He does not thank Allah at all. And once that difficulty is removed, he doesn't continue to pray to Allah. So we see that a very selfish attitude is being mentioned in this ayah. That some people are very selfish. They remember Allah only when they are in difficulty. And when the difficulty is removed, they forget Allah completely. كَذَلِكَ, likewise, that just how making dua at the time of dur only is beautified for a person and otherwise he does not make dua, similarly, زُيِّنَ, it has been beautified, لِلْمُسْرِفِينَ, for those who are extravagant, مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, that which they do. Meaning their actions are beautified for them. And because their actions are beautified, this is why they continue to persist in these actions. If you notice, the word musrifin has been used. Musrifin is a plural of musrif. And who is a musrif? One who does israf. Israf is to be extravagant, to be an extremist. So, musrif is one who exceeds the limits of i'tidal, of being balanced. Meaning he's not balanced at all. He goes to extremes. What is the extreme over here? That in dur, he will go to one extreme, praying to Allah all the time, in every situation. And as soon as the dur is removed, he goes back to another extreme. He never remembers Allah. He never makes dua to Allah. This is a musrif. Going to extremes. There is no moderation. What do we learn? That the best deeds are those which are less but consistent. Because such deeds are more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a person continues to make dua to Allah, even if it's less, but constantly in every state, that is much better than going to such an extreme in ad-dur and going to another extreme in a state where a person's dur has been removed. So we see over here that in this ayah, the behavior of extreme ingratitude is mentioned. And this behavior is mentioned several times in the Quran. Many times. It's like as though this is a complaint, that this is how people are towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a very common behavior amongst people. Illa masha'Allah, except for some exceptions, who are given the tawfiq to remember Allah, to pray to Allah, to worship Him at all times, when in difficulty and also when in ease, during the night and also during the day, in youth and also in old age. And such people who remember Allah at all times, who are they? Ulul albab. الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. But a person who only remembers Allah in dur, such a person is an extremist. Such a person is extremely selfish. Just think about it. If someone comes to us only when they want something from us, only when they want something from us, and until we give it to them, they keep calling us, they keep writing to us, they keep talking to us, and as soon as we give it to them, they disappear. How do you feel? How do you feel? They're so selfish. They use me. Right? You don't like such a person. But we see that many have this behavior towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we don't like it for ourselves, then how can we behave in this way towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now this ayah does not mean that when in a state of difficulty, a person should not make dua, sitting, standing, lying down. No. It's only natural that when a person is in a difficult situation, he makes dua with more intensity. It's only natural. And it's good. It's a good thing. However, what is being reprimanded over here, what is being disliked over here, is that a person only remembers Allah at the time of difficulty. And later on, he forgets. Generally, he does not touch the Quran. As soon as somebody passes away, the person will read juz after juz. Generally, they will not remember Allah. But as soon as there is an exam coming up, they will read the names of Allah thousands of times. This behavior is inappropriate. It does not suit a true believer. Because this behavior reflects extreme selfishness. Extreme selfishness.
It's reality that Allah will provide us difficulties as well. Allah will provide us good times as well. So because we are not honest to ourselves, we are not accepting the truth, we are not used to accepting the truth. As a result, what happens? We just show our behavior too much, out of stress. We just yell or we become mad because we're not happy with the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mm-hmm. Because just yesterday my son was going through this problem as well. His bird died and they were very sad, and he said, oh, lucky he went to the Jannah and I can't. I said, why you can't? We people have to do a lot. The way he was crying, he said, because for him it was not too much to do. We have to do a lot. And I just reminded him, no, be sadq, be happy, be true, be honest with whatever you have. So I think if we learn this one reality, then we have no complaints with Allah, then we have no complaints with the people. We are happy with whatever we have.
Yes. So we see over here that the behavior that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes is of moderation, that a person remembers Allah in good times and also in bad times. Now, this does not mean that in order to be fair, we don't make dua at all. Because then a person goes to another extreme. That because I don't remember Allah in good times, therefore when I'm going through a difficulty, I don't think I should be making dua. Some people think like that. They do. So in order to be fair, we're not going to make dua at all. We're not going to turn to Allah at all. This is much worse. Why? Because this is a state of extreme heedlessness. This is a state of being very distant from Allah, that a person does not remember Allah at all. It's a sign of hard-heartedness, extreme ghafla, extreme negligence. So what does Allah like? That we remember Allah in both times. And the Prophet ﷺ said, how wonderful is the case of a believer. There is good for him in everything. And this is not the case with anyone except a believer. If prosperity attends him, he expresses gratitude to Allah. And that is good for him. And if adversity befalls him, what does he do? He endures it patiently, and that is also good for him. So, what is the behavior that is good? That a person remembers Allah at all times. And if you look at the end of the ayah, كَذَلِكَ زُيِّنَ لِلْمُسْرِفِينَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. That the musrifeen, whatever they do, the actions they do, their actions seem very beautiful to them. So we see that a musrif, he considers his actions of israf to be very good, which is why he justifies them, which is why he persists on them. This is, yes, in the context, musrif refers to the one who prays to Allah only in difficulty. However, we can also understand this in a general sense. That people who do israf, and what is israf? That a person goes out of the bounds of obedience to Allah and disobeys Allah. So he finds his deeds very beautiful. How are they beautified? Sometimes by giving them beautiful names. Like for example, when it comes to riba, what is it called? Interest. It's in your interest. Similarly, if you look at it, if a person cheats, we consider him to be very smart, very intelligent. If a person is indecent, we think that he's very bold, very confident. This is beautifying the deeds. What does Allah say? That those who are musrif, for them their deeds are very beautiful, which is why they continue to persist on them. وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا الْقُرُونَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. And we had already destroyed generations before you. Al-Qurun is a plural of qarn, from the root letters qaf, ra, nun. And the word qarn is used for a people whose time of existence is the same. So basically, qarn is, it refers to those people who exist, who live on the earth at the same time. You understand? So for example, all of us, we are what? A qarn, a generation. So each qarns, the time of existence of each qarn is different from the time of existence of another qarn. Isn't it? So for example, your qarn, your generation, your time of existence is the year 2000 so on, for example, the 21st century. On the other hand, the time when the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, when they were alive, their time of existence was different. So they were one qarn and we are another qarn. Do you understand? The Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرَ الْقُرُونِ قَرْنِي. The best generations is my generation. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. Then those people who come after them. And then those people who come after them. So وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا الْقُرُونَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. We destroyed generations before you, meaning many generations before you. Who does you refer to? Primarily it refers to the people of Makkah, but then it's not just limited to them. Because the Quran is also being addressed to us. That before us, so many generations came. Thousands, myriads, many generations came. But what happened to each and every one of them? They're gone. لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا. When they wronged. specifically when the people did zulm, they were punished. They were destroyed by Allah. What zulm is this? This injustice is against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, by doing shirk, by denying the messengers, by being oppressive towards one another. For example, we learned about several nations in Surah Al-A'raf. Amongst them were those who associated partners with Allah, and amongst them were those who cheated one another when it came to business transactions. What is that? Zulm. It's injustice. So when they did zulm against Allah, against one another, against the messenger of Allah, then what happened? We destroyed them. And it wasn't that they didn't know. وَجَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلُهُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. Their messengers came to them with the clear signs. They were told what is right and what is wrong. That what they were doing was zulm. But still they persisted. وَمَا كَانُوا لِيُؤْمِنُوا. But they were not to believe. Those people, they were not to believe. Despite the fact that they saw the bayinat, they saw the miracles, still they refused to believe. So what did we do? We destroyed them. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْقَوْمَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. Thus do we recompense the criminal people. Meaning, those people who are criminals, those people who do zulm, ultimately they are destroyed. No matter who they are, no matter when they are existent on the surface of the earth. When they do zulm, they are destroyed. So we learn from this ayah that the people who do zulm, they can never be successful. Even if they progress momentarily, in the long run, they can never be successful. It is said that Allah can allow a people to live with kufr, but He cannot allow a people with zulm. He will not allow them to live with injustice, with zulm. So we have seen throughout history that people have lived with kufr. But the moment people who were even believers, when they began doing zulm on one another, Allah's wrath descended upon them. And anyone who does zulm will meet the same end. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْقَوْمَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. The criminal people are recompensed in this way, that when they do zulm, they are destroyed. In Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 59, we learn, وَتِلْكَ الْقُرَىٰ أَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا. And those cities, we destroyed them when they wronged. وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا. And we made for their destruction an appointed time. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ. Then we made you. Who does you refer to? Again, firstly, the people of Mecca, and after them, all of us. That ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ. Then we have made you. What does it mean by then? Meaning after the previous generations have gone, after they have passed away, after them Allah has made you خَلَائِفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Successors in the earth. خَلَائِف is the plural of Khalifa. From the root letters, Kha Lam Fa. And who is Khalifa? One who succeeds the other. One who comes after the other. So we have made you khala'if in the earth. Meaning after the previous generations passed away, you have been made their successors. You are now living on the earth presently. And just as they passed away, you too will pass away eventually. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ خَلَائِفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ. After them. After who? After the previous people. And why are you here? To live here forever? To enjoy your time over here? No, لِنَنْظُرَ. So that we may see كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ. How is it that you behave? What is it that you do? What kind of actions do you perform? So you are here for some time, just as the people before you were here for some time. They passed their time, their actions were observed. Ultimately, they met their end. Similarly, you are here today. Whatever you do is being observed, and ultimately, you will also meet your end. لِنَنْظُرَ. So that we may see. The reason why you're here is so that we may observe, we may see. كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ. What is it that you do? And كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ can be understood as at the individual level and also at a collective level. That what do you do as individuals and what do you do as nations? So we see that each generation is replaced with the next generation. Each generation is replaced with the next generation. If you look at it, Perhaps if your grandparents are alive, they may tell you stories about their parents, their grandparents. You may have heard stories, but you probably never met them. And perhaps you will see that your grandparents, their generation, the people who grew up with them, very few of them are alive today. Slowly and gradually, one generation leaves after the next. No one stays here in this dunya forever. No one at all. And each generation performs its deeds when it is alive. And each generation is observed. Nobody remains here forever. We learn in Surah Al-Mulk, ayah number 2, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. He has created death and life so that He may see you as to which of you do good in deeds. He is observing our actions. So this dunya, the time that we are here in this dunya, it's not just for fun and play. It's not just for passing this time, for biding this time. But we are in this dunya for a reason. We are here to do something. Because what we do is being observed. What we do, we are going to be recompensed for it. We see that throughout history, generations, civilizations, empires, dynasties, they have been replaced by the next, one after the other. No empire has lasted forever. No dynasty has lasted forever. No kingdom has lasted forever. Each one has been inherited by the next. And each one has been overpowered, has been defeated by the next. Anyone who comes to this dunya goes away. Eventually he will leave. And those who are present now, what do they think? That we are here forever. Somehow we can outsmart death. Somehow we can defeat it. Somehow we can survive. But this is a delusion. Because if you look back, no one has ever managed to stay here forever. No one at all. So this shows to us that what we do is meaningful. What we do in this world plays an important role for us. So whatever we do is being observed. So we see that what is being examined is not what we collect. What is being examined is not what we buy, but what is being examined is what we do. Because everything passes on, every stage comes to an end, and what remains is the deeds that we have performed. In Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 46, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الْمَالُ وَالْبَنُونَ زِينَةُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Wealth and children, they are the adornment of this worldly life. وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتِ. But what is it that's going to last? It's the good deeds. So while you're here, don't get lost in these possessions of yours. Don't get lost in this glitter of this world. Focus on what you have to do, because that is what is being observed.